Welcome to Bioexplaining, and this is me, Anushka. So today's topic that we are going to talk about is urine formation. So talking about the process of urine formation in the human body, the first thing that we need to understand is the general structure of the excretory system, or more specifically the urinary system of our body. So if you look into this diagram that is being shown on the screen, you can find that we have two kidneys, the right kidney and the left kidney. The kidneys are like a special filter system in our body and they produce urine. So from the kidney, we have a pair of tubes running down to the urinary bladder. So this pair of tubes is what we call to be the ureters. The urinary bladder is present, which is a sac-like structure and is responsible for the storage of urine. And then below that we have the urethra, which is a passage for the passing out of urine from the bladder to outside of the body. If you again look into the diagram very carefully, that in the urethra we have two circular muscles which are termed as the sphincter muscles. So these sphincter muscles open only when it has a nervous influence. For instance, whenever we have an urge to urinate, then we might use the washroom and then the urination occurs. So this nervous influence lets the sphincter muscles to open and then urination occurs, which is also known as the process of micturition. So this is the overall structure of the urinary system, and additionally in the diagram you will also be able to note that there are cap-like structures present on top of each kidney. So what are these cap-like structures known as? These are known as the adrenal gland. Whenever we talk about anything relating to the kidney, we use the term renal. So something which is present on top of the kidney is known as adrenal. So this adrenal gland is a part of our endocrine system, which is responsible for the production of various hormones, the major one out of them being the stress response hormone, which is known as adrenaline and commonly known to be the fight and flight response hormone. So that is about the general structure of the urinary system. Okay, so like we know that for all living organisms, the cell is the structural and functional unit of life. Similarly, for the kidney, the structural and functional unit is known to be the nephron. So the nephron also has two other names. We can call it to be the renal tubule, like I just said, that renal is the term used for anything related to the kidney. Or since the kidney is responsible for urine formation, the nephron is also known as uriniferous tubules. Uriniferous tubule. Fine. So first let us understand the structure of this nephron. So if you look into the diagram very carefully, you can find that in the left hand side we have certain things drawn in red. So first let us understand what are those. So these are blood vessels which are bringing in blood and taking away blood from the nephron. So the purpose of drawing it in red is to show that both the blood vessels that are bringing in blood as well as taking away blood are carrying oxygenated blood. So the blood vessel which is bringing in blood is known as the afferent arteriole, and it is slightly wider than the blood vessel which is taking blood away from the nephron. So that is known as the efferent arteriole. So one structural aspect that we need to remember here is the afferent arteriole is wider than the efferent one. Then talking about the part in between, that is known as the Bowman's capsule, which is the first part of the nephron. And then you have the glomerulus. So the afferent arteriole enters into the Bowman's capsule, forms a knot of capillaries. That is what you call to be the glomerulus. And There a certain process happens and the other parts of the blood moves out or away from the nephron via the efferent tubule. So this Bowman's capsule and the glomerulus are together known to be the Malpighian corpuscle or the Malpighian capsule in simple words. The next part that we are concerned about is the part which is close to the Bowman's capsule and which is highly convoluted. Talking about this first part. So this is known as the proximal convoluted tubule, abbreviated as PCT. Proximal meaning that it is close to the Bowman's capsule. Convoluted, that means it is highly coiled and it's a part of the tubule. So proximal convoluted tubule. The next part that we have is this U-shaped part, which is what we call to be the loop of Henle, because it was discovered, first identified by Henle. So this loop of Henle starts in the cortex and then dips down into the medulla. So what is the cortex? The cortex is the outer part of the kidney, while the medulla is the inner part of the kidney. The loop of Henle begins in the cortex, then dips down into the medulla, and then again goes back into the cortex. The part that you have next to it is what we call to be the distal convoluted tubule. So this distal convoluted tubule means that it is a bit distant from the Bowman's capsule, so it's distal and it is called so convoluted tubule. The final part that we have here is the collecting duct, so which will be collecting the final product, that is the urine, which has been formed by the